Oh, they have all these luxury cars. They have Gucci, the Louis Vuitton. Guys must be killing it, and they're only like 21. What are they doing that I'm not?
So you have to make a decision and say, do I just want to look rich or do I want to become wealthy? Business fundamentals don't change. You need to know marketing. You need to know advertising. You need to know how to communicate with people.
You can have all the money in the world, but you can't take it to heaven or hell, wherever you go with you. It's all about legacy you want to leave instead.
I can go back and say, what were the 3 things that I did? KMS, know my shit. They knew that I knew.
Without a team and without those assets, that's it's difficult to do that, or else you'll just be hustling all the time.
No, it's not difficult, it's impossible. You don't always want to be in that rat race of having to go buy something.
What would you say is one of the biggest moments or decisions that was pivotal in real estate? Hey guys, I'm here with Hector Padilla. I'm having him back on the show. It's been over 2 years since we actually done a podcast together. Last time we did it together in LA, we're at his amazing location where he handles his real estate business. And today we're actually going to be talking about some of the milestones that he's achieved since we last talked, and more specifically about real estate. So thank you so much, Hector, for joining me virtually. I'm actually here in Prague right now. He's over there in Beverly Hills. And we actually are going to share the milestones that he's achieved since we last talked. So Hector, how are you? And what is some of the big things you've accomplished since we last chatted?
It's amazing. Something that you teach is about having a virtual business and having time freedom, right? And not just a flexible schedule. So it's amazing that you're living in Europe and you're living like the dream lifestyle as well, living in Europe, doing some real estate, doing some other coaching and training. So my hat goes off to you, traveling a lot. How many countries have you been to?
To be honest, I've over 30, but I actually want to get a map and put a pin on every single country I've been to, because I've lost count, especially like all the different cities in different countries. But been overseas 12 years, and every time I go back stateside, I'm like, I miss Europe, but I do miss the States though. So it's hard to balance both.
Yeah, no. So I've been to 24 countries now and 4 continents, but I know you definitely have me beat. You do a way more traveling than I do. But anyways, back to your question. So since the last interview, I think we should give people a little backdrop. I don't think everybody may know my background. So a bit quick short story. So I started working at about the age of 9 at a printing press. And then at the age of 10, I was a newspaper boy, passing out the newspaper and selling the newspaper door to door. And then from there, I had other little jobs here and there, but then went off to work security. Then I became a Santa Monica police officer, and that was my lifelong dream. And then after that, I made a pivot, got into real estate, was an assistant for a broker. Then I became a buyer's agent, listing agent. Then I owned my own brokerage, was a top producing listing agent, got into fix and flips. And long story short, I call that the 15-year reverse circle. Because right when I left the police department, I knew I wanted to become an investor. I didn't want to be a realtor or a broker, but I got kind of sucked into it. And I stayed in it for 15 years. And then I finally made my pivot, and I focused on multi-million-dollar properties. And that's really what allowed me to live my dream lifestyle. And that's what gave me true time freedom and my legacy. And that's what allowed me to get the Rolls Royce and the G-Wagon and the Porsche GTS and live in this area here, travel the world, take long vacations, and make not just my dreams come true, but make my parents' dreams come true and make my wife's dreams come true. So again, it was making that pivot to becoming the savvy and sophisticated real estate investor, starting my real estate acquisition and investment firm with a built-in management company, a built-in maintenance company, and a built-in brokerage, but we only handle my portfolio. We don't do third-party services. And that has been a huge, huge game changer. So now, John, I kind of lose track of the questions you asked me. So
that was a big overview. So thank you so much. I mean, there's been a lot that's happened in your real estate career, from going to real estate into now commercial. You guys are doing apartment complexes, and I'm excited to hear about that as well on this podcast.
Yeah.
But what is like one of the big milestones you've achieved since we last talked 2 years ago? I know we met in your office and we were talking about real estate a bit, and then I know you were talking about opening a lot of events now, and then starting an education part of the company. How has that been going for you?
Okay, so since we last met, what happened was we were going to build. So I'm not a developer, but I was going to become a developer. So I bought 3 pieces of real estate and they were all connected. So 3 lots that were connected, and I pieced them together. And I was going to build about, I think it's either 93 or 98 doors, brand new construction, subterranean parking. It's a big development. Okay, that I still own the real estate, and that was going to be valued at 50 million after I built it, and it was stabilized. But then we had the Ukraine war. So as soon as the Ukraine war hit, I knew things were going to take a turn, right? So I didn't need to take the risk. So I put that project on hold. But that will eventually be what I call a legacy play. That will stay in the family trust past my lifetime and hopefully past my daughter's lifetime. Okay, that would be a legacy play. Then what we did really quickly is you got to know how to pivot very fast when things happen like that. So when that happened, I refinanced the entire portfolio.
Wow.
And some people called me a fool because on some of the refinances, John, I had to pay a point or a 0.75% to refinance it. I had to do a refi cash in, which means I had to go into the refinance with money. Normally we do a refi cash out. We refinance and we pull money out. This time I had to refinance and put money into the deal, right? And then on some of them, my interest rates were 3.2%, 3%, and my interest rate went up. Okay, so some of the people that don't have the experience called me a fool. But then what happened? Rates went up. A lot of people were not able to refinance anymore because they didn't have the cash to do a refi cash in. And the property, the numbers just didn't work out anymore based on the DCR, the debt coverage ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So I refinanced the entire portfolio, but right when I did that, interest rates were still pretty good, about, anywhere between 3.75 to about 4%, give or take, on the asset. But I did the entire portfolio. And what I told my wife is like, you know what? We don't need to buy anything. We don't need to buy anything. We don't need to sell anything. So let's play it safe. Let's refinance the entire portfolio, which we did. So we're sitting good. And we put the development play on hold. Okay. And now we have another war going on. And now we have the 2024 elections going on. So that was one of my big moves that I did. And so now my focus is asset management, portfolio management, and capital allocation. And this really is what you guys should be aiming to do. You don't always want to be in that rat race of having to go buy something, of having to flip a property. You don't want to be on that hamster wheel. You want to be able to live your dream lifestyle because you have that passive income coming in every month. That's where you guys want to get to.
So building that rental portfolio and having that passive income is the strategy you recommend in real estate. I mean, you've been in real estate a long time with your family's 50-year legacy. How have you seen the industry evolve in the real estate sector, particularly?
Okay, so I've been in real estate now 24 years. Okay, and then my father started in the real estate business about 50 years ago, right? And then my great-great-grandfather started in 1912, right?
Wow.
So I say it's in the genetic code now. Real estate is, right?
And Bella's in next.
Yeah. But just to clarify things, my great-grandfather, grandfather, and my father did not leave me a real estate portfolio. My great-grandfather started in Mexico, and the government took a lot of his real estate. My father made a bad decision and got into retail sales and opened up numerous stores and a warehouse, and he sold the real estate to build that retail business and the wholesaling business. So here's a big lesson for you guys to learn. Don't sell your cash producing assets to start other businesses. Refinance the cash producing asset, do a 1031, get into a bigger deal, then do your refi cash out, use some of that money if you want to start another business. But I don't recommend that you liquidate cash producing assets to go start another business. Just about everyone that I know that has done that, they highly regret it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me, again, right now, I don't have to buy, I don't have to sell. I'm just enjoying my monthly passive income, and I manage my portfolio.
That's awesome. It's crazy to hear too. You said that your father didn't pass you a real estate portfolio, so you had to build your real estate career from the ground up. essentially. I think
Absolutely, from the ground up, and I had to bootstrap and build it. So it wasn't like my dad said, "Here's millions of dollars in cash," or "Here's a real estate portfolio that you can work with." Is I had to start from the ground up. And here's something else: when my dad was a real estate investor, he was not an active and aggressive investor. He had a corporate job, and he would take whatever money he had, and he would go buy a duplex, and then he would go buy a fourplex, and then he would buy a piece of land. But when you do that, it takes a long time to build wealth. When you do it the way I did it, then you do it very fast, and you create exponential growth by getting into the multi-million-dollar properties and not flipping a house or doing a duplex or fourplex, but getting into the multi-million-dollar property. Here's something else I wanted to say, John, in regards to what has changed. Okay. So yes, now we have, AI. Now we have virtual assistants, right? And now there's other, technology that can help. But recently, another mentee asked me, what were the 3 things that helped me create exponential growth and go from police officer to becoming a millionaire at 29, multimillionaire at 30, able to retire at 38, and purchasing over $100 million in real estate? How was I able to do that so fast? What were the 3 key things? And here's what I would say is, number 1, KMS, which means know my shit. Whenever I would go talk to somebody, I knew what I was talking about. I wasn't trying to wing it. So when we would look eye to eye, they can see my confidence that I knew what I was talking about. So then they wanted to work with me. Then number 2 is I became a persuasive communicator. And as they say, becoming a persuasive communicator is a golden key to riches. Okay, not a manipulator, but a persuasive communicator. Then number 3 is most people will make a contact, right, with a certain prospect. I learned how to connect with my prospects, and I learned how to connect and build relationships. So if I can go back and say, what were the 3 things that I did? Those were the 3 things. Everybody knew whenever we would talk to an appraiser, a client, another agent, a potential seller, a potential joint venture partner, KMS, know my shit. They knew that I knew. And then I became a persuasive communicator, and then I connected with them. And that's how I was able to do it.
I love that. I'm actually gonna write KMS on my wall. Know my shit. I like that. That's a good one. That's really good. No, like similar background, going from law enforcement, being in the military, for 12 years now. When I separated, I got into real estate too. I've always wanted to be in real estate, but there's so many different avenues to get into in real estate. So when I got out, I became a real estate agent. That's actually how we connected. I met you at one of the events. You came by Christian Fuentes' office at REMAX. And I was like, wow, this guy, KMS, he knows his shit. And, there's something about, like what you said too, connecting with people. I've learned in the real estate business, it's all about connecting with people and then building relationships. And you really learn, how can I help this person, or how can I give value? But also, hey, is this person genuine? Is this person real? Because the last time we chatted too, you told me, a piece of advice, like watch out for all the flash dancers on social media. And, I fell into that trap myself too. And even being mentored by some people like that, I fell into they have all these luxury cars. They have, the Gucci, the Louis Vuitton. And I was like, wow, these guys must be killing it. And they're only like 21. What are they doing that I'm not? And it's the same thing, that it's, they're just trying to sell you by using their lifestyle, but they didn't really know their shit though. They just made up shit they were fly. And when I went through the mentorship, I was like, wow, this was a waste of my time. But I'm glad I learned, it's an expensive learning experience, but I'm glad I learned how to know your shit and how to know if other people know their shit, to vet your mentor.
Not just that, absolutely, John. But here's the other thing with that. The thing right now, you're right. And you and I talked about that, is that with TikTok and social media, is that everybody looks rich. They look rich because they just swipe everything. Gucci belt, swipe it. Gucci shoes, swipe it. They want to get the Rolex, swipe it. Lease the car, right? So they look rich, but they're not wealthy. They just look rich. So you have to make a decision and say, do I just want to look rich, or do I want to become wealthy? and you want to become wealthy, right? It's okay if you want to look. When I got the Rolls Royce or my cars, yes, I get the luxury cars, but I have a cash producing asset, put the down payment, and then I lease the car to the company or a company, and a company is a holding company that owns real estate, right? So it's a write-off. Then I have that cash flow pay for the lease. That's how I do it. The big mistake people make is that they buy the cars with active income. With the amount of money, their paychecks, their commission, they're using that to purchase the car instead of using passive income from a cash producing asset. And going back on AI and the VA, I didn't have that when I started my business 24 years ago, right? So yes, those are some great tools that you can use, but remember that business fundamentals don't change.
Yep.
Business fundamentals don't change. You still need to know, you need to know sales. You need to know marketing. You need to know advertising. You need to know how to communicate, human psychology, how to communicate with people, how to build that rapport with people. So business fundamentals don't change. And yes, AI and a VA, etc., those are great tools. But I didn't have that growing up. Not growing up, but I actually did not have that growing up. I also didn't have that when I started my business, and I still did it. Right? Business fundamentals still work. Don't get lost in all the technology.
I think sometimes a lot of people, especially in the real estate sector, they rely on the technology instead of having the foundations of, hey, what are my sales skills? What are the marketing skills? What do I need at my core? And nowadays, even in my business, I'm doing virtual wholesaling from Prague. It's really a blessing, the era we're living in, that we can have VAs working around the clock that are doing the cold calling for us. And then, have acquisition managers that are VAs as well, that are sending the offers every day. And then, my dad and I, we do the disposition side on our wholesale business. But it's just crazy, the technology that is available nowadays. I mean, use it to your advantage. But at the root, like you said, have your core fundamentals and, know your shit. That's the biggest thing. But you made a big growth from your life. I mean, you went from being a paper boy to a multi-millionaire dollar real estate investor. What would you say is one of the biggest moments or decisions that was pivotal for you in real estate?
They say that sometimes you need some kind of a fire, especially when you're young, right? So, some kind of fire in your belly that makes you say, man, I'm going to go out there and conquer the world. So when I was young, I did have that fire, and I was like, man, I'm going to become a self-made millionaire, because I didn't go to a good school. I didn't go to an Ivy League school, and my parents were not wealthy. And there were some people that would talk shit and that went to the good schools. And so I did have that chip on my shoulder of, I went to a community college, and then yes, I got my bachelor's, but I went to Dominguez Hills, which is not a very affluent or sophisticated school, right? And I wanted to show people and show myself that I can do it. And so I just had that fire going, and I'm like, I'm going to become a self-made millionaire. I'm going to become a self-made millionaire. Then I started saying, I am becoming a self-made millionaire. So one of the things was self-talk. The power of self-talk. How are you talking to yourself? What are you telling yourself? And I was, man, when I started in the business, John, again, 24 years ago, I was in my 20s. I was putting in half days. And when I tell the young cats that, and they're like, oh, so you only worked 4 hours a day, that's a half day. No, I was working the first 12 hours of the day or the second 12 hours of the day. That's a half day, right? Yeah. So I was putting in 10, 12, 15 hours a day, but I was single, had no kids, in my 20s. It was go mode. And that's how I became the self-made millionaire at 29. And then I started getting mentors at an early age. So I got a mentor as soon as I could afford it. I had my first coach, then I had the mentors, and they're the ones that showed me how to become a self-made millionaire. By the time I was 30, I had $2 million in the bank, and I had real estate. And then from there, I just kept on going, right? But it was that. I would say it was having the fire, right? That made me want to work hard and work smart. And then the other part was having the vetted mentors. Yep. Too many guys today will get a coach or a mentor that, again, looks rich. They got the watch, they got the Gucci belt or whatnot, but they're not wealthy. They're not seasoned. So when you get a seasoned and vetted mentor, that's a game changer. And that's what it was for me.
What are some questions you ask yourself to vet these mentors? Because I've come across a lot of fake mentors. They, they're flash dancers. And now when I see that, I run the other way. I run the hell the other way because I guess if you use it for marketing, okay. But, when I see it all the time, now I really look, okay, what is this guy's wealth producing asset? What does he actually have to offer? Or, I learned a lot from these guys too, but at the same time, I was like, I wish I had a better way to vet these people. What is some things you use to vet people?
It's a great question, John. I actually just did an Instagram post on it, and it's 15 questions to ask a mentor. So if people go on my Instagram, which is The Real Hector Padilla on Instagram, I posted the 15 questions to ask. Something else, that I'm doing right now, because, again, I'm now a mentor, right? I've been doing mentorship / coaching for 20 years, but as a hobby. I just started doing it now as a business this year. Actually, no, late last year. Like I think we started in November, October. We started doing it more as a business.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I do, because I know there's so much competition out there, is I tell people, come and jump in the beast, which is the AMG G-Wagon. We're going to go tour $30 to $50 million in assets. And I'm going to talk to you guys about how I found the deal, what was good, what was bad, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then from there, we have a power lunch. And so by doing that, people can get a really, really, really good feeling that KMS, I know my shit. And I got the real estate. And then they come to my commercial office building where I run my business out of, which you went to, and they can see, yeah, this is a real operation. This is the real deal. So yes, you can get some stuff off of social media, but you still got to ask more questions, right? And you can kind of tell some people just push too hard to, again, try to look rich. They're constantly trying to show off their Rolex or their watch, and they're constantly trying to show off the car. But you got to look past that and say, okay, what do they really have?
Yep.
And are they really an entrepreneur? Are they really an investor? Or are they a technician? And a technician is somebody that has to work, because if they're not working, they're not making money. Right? So someone who's only a speaker, if they're not speaking, they're not making money. A dentist, if they're not drilling on teeth, they're not making money. The same thing with the brain surgeon. If they're not doing operations, right, they're not making money. So you definitely want to learn from true entrepreneurs and true investors.
I'm glad that you shared that with me. I'm actually going to pull up that post after our conversation, and I'll make sure that's in this podcast. The 15 questions to ask a mentor. Because I need to have that on my checklist every time I get mentorship. I actually just signed up for a mentorship with Ryan Panetta. And he's in Vegas, and we're actually going to be going out to WealthCon this year, my dad and I, to learn more about the virtual wholesaling side of the business. But I know there's so many different avenues in real estate to get into. And you told me you were, an agent, you went into flipping. I don't know if you did wholesaling, but now you're doing apartment buildings, motels, and commercial properties. And I know with that, there's a lot of doors. You can get a lot of cash on, as a rental. But what drove you specifically towards that side of real estate? Why not continue flipping homes? Like, why go commercial properties with apartment buildings other than, it being a good rental portfolio?
Excellent question. Okay, so look, again, I had my boutique brokerage, right, for 15 years. And here's what happened. So as the broker and as a top producing agent, I always felt like I was on the hamster wheel, always chasing the next listing, chasing the next commission, or chasing the next new recruit. So I was always on that hamster wheel. Then with the flips, I was in the rat race, chasing the flip, getting it. I would make a good paycheck, but then I got taxed heavily.
Yep.
And then I had to go chase the next one. And then I got a nice check, but then I got taxed heavily. So when I met my other mentor, Dan Pena, the $50 billion man, now he goes by the $1 trillion man, he's really the one that changed my mindset. And I decided to become the savvy and sophisticated investor and build my portfolio. So now whenever you get into multi-million-dollar deals and you're not flipping them, the cash flow's there. And when you refinance it, so for example, I did a refinance on one of them. We talked earlier about doing a refi cash in, but on one of them, I did a refi cash out and I pulled out $1 million. That million is tax-free money. So now I take that million and I go buy another cash producing asset. So the big mistake I made starting off, and I say this in Spanish, but then I'll repeat it in English. So one of the big mistakes I made was that I was the carnicero, which means I was the butcher. Okay, I was the butcher. I was buying a cow, killing the cow, and selling the meat, making a profit, paying huge taxes, and then I'd go buy another cow, and I would do the same thing. Then I learned how to be the lechero, and the lechero means the milkman. Then I learned how to milk the cow, right? So I'd buy one cow, I would milk it, I would collect the rents, refi cash out, take that money and go buy a second cow. Then I would milk that rental income, refi cash out, take that money, which would be the milk, and I would buy a third cow. Next thing you know, it's a snowball effect. Then next thing you know, you have a real estate portfolio. And now you don't have to work because now you have that monthly passive income. And now you do asset management and now you do portfolio management because otherwise you're always going to have to work.
Yep.
Chasing the next cow, killing the next cow, selling the meat. So learn how to become the milkman.
That's the moral of this full podcast. We can end the show now. Learn how to become the milkman. That's really an eye opener for me because, like you, right now I'm the butcher. My dad and I, we do wholesaling, so we're just looking for the next deal. We're looking for the next deal and then offloading the deal. And then, I thank you for sharing those tax strategies too. Like that's also why after I'm looking at our 3-year goal, eventually when I move back to the States, I do want to take your mentorship and get more into the commercial properties, how to turn those into a good rental portfolio, especially the apartment complexes. Because for me, like you said, it's a good way to milk the cow and get the long-term passive income. Because that's at the end of the day, that's what we're aiming for. Is to get that.
100%. Give me 1 second, Jen. I still have that cough. Let me blow my nose real quick. All right. So listen, here's a great lesson I learned, okay? And you and I kind of talked on this earlier. Not on this call, but we had another phone call. And I also did a video on this on Instagram. But a big lesson that I got last year is they asked a shaman, what is poison? And he said, having more of anything than what you need can be poisonous. So when people say, Padilla, don't you want to have 10,000 doors? No, I don't. Because I have one child. Her inheritance is way more than what she will ever need. I almost want to say it's too much. Okay. So we are teaching her on how to gift money and how to be a blessing to other people because her inheritance is going to be too much. So what do I want now? Before I was like, go, 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 more assets, more deals, right? But now it's like, you know what? I'm going to hit the brakes on that. I'm almost going to be 50. I'm never going to get this time back.
Yep.
So now I am a fully engaged father. I take my daughter to Krav Maga martial arts. I'm her soccer coach. So we do soccer practice and soccer games. I'm never going to get this time back with my daughter. My parents are elderly. Okay. My dad's going to be 78 and so is my mom. They have both had some serious health scares last year. I'm never going to get time back with them. So I'm going to invest a lot of time with them. I can always go back and do another deal. I don't need any more money. I have a nice home that I own. I own my vacation home. I drive nice cars. I'm already living the lifestyle. So having a Lamborghini or having a huge mansion is not going to do anything for me. So what I do now is I'm very clear on NRM, non-refundable moments. I'm not going to get these moments back with my little girl or with my wife or with my parents. So NRM, non-refundable moments.
I'm writing that down. I love that you said that NRM, non-refundable moments, because like when I was backstage, I actually bought my parents tickets to fly here to Prague for my mom's anniversary, and tickets were pretty expensive. But for me, I was like, this is a non-refundable moment. I don't even know when they're gonna ever come to Europe. They're getting old too, and when I went home, like seeing my mom and them getting older, it just hits you because it's like, wow, like, yeah, you can focus on your business, but one of those days you're not gonna have your parents anymore. So would you rather be just chasing that next deal, leveling up, or would you rather have more time with your family? And that's where I learned to identify like who are the mentors I want to align myself with, because you have been an awesome mentor to me. So thank you so much. You know, we've known each other for years, and I really am grateful to be under your mentorship and to see the lifestyle you're living. And then also with your family, that's the biggest thing. Family is big to me. And, you know, Ryan Panetta too, he's one of the mentors I align with as well. His family is big to him too. And he says the same thing. It's like, how much time do you want to spend with your family, and what kind of impact do you want to leave? And talking about family a little bit too, if you don't mind sharing, what are some of the mentorships or lessons that you teach your daughter? Do you teach her about real estate, or do you not want to get her involved in the real estate business, or like what? How do you align the two?
Excellent question. So let me take it one step back on with what you just said. So remember this: do not become a slave to your ambition. Do not become a slave to your ambition. You have to know, when is it enough? When can you take your foot off the gas? Enjoy life. Enjoy life, okay? And then when can you go back and hit it hard again if that's what you want to do? All right, going to my daughter, 100%. So she is my number one mentee, and I take her out into the trenches with me, and she sees me dealing with my team, and she sees me dealing with tenants on occasion, and she sees the rent readies that we do, and she sees the remodels that we do, and I'm constantly teaching her about the team. And she, you know what? She's 9 years old, but she's sharp. She knows, you know, most people don't know the difference between an asset and a liability. And these are adults, okay? They don't know the difference. She does. I was getting a haircut a couple of weeks ago, and I told my daughter, I'm like, Bella, let's say my barber's name is Danny. And I said, if Danny asked you for some business advice, and he wants to make more money, what would you tell him? And she sits back and she thinks, and she's like, Dad, she's like, I would tell Danny that he should hire 5 more barbers and invest in 5 barbershops. And so that way he's the business owner and not the technician that's only cutting hair.
Wow.
And this way he's making money even when he's not working. And Danny was cutting my hair at the time, and he was like, oh my God, brother. He's like, that's amazing that she's that age and giving me that kind of advice. And I said, absolutely. So Bella's very clear on the difference between being an investor, a business owner, entrepreneur, and being a technician and having a job. And another one, even talking about looking rich. We're driving by, you know, in our area, and then we get into a different neighborhood, and she sees a nice car in the driveway, and she goes, Daddy, they're trying to look rich, but they're not rich. And I started to laugh. I'm like, why do you say that? She's like, because they have a nice car, but look at the house. Look at how bad the house is. And I said, you know what? That may be true. So remember that you don't want to look rich. You want to become wealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So definitely teaching her that. Something else is, you know, I journal to my daughter every day. And I've been doing that, gosh, I don't know, at least about 3 years now. So I journal, you know, 1 lesson to her every day. And she knows that when she walks into my office and I'm journaling to her in the mornings, I'm like, what is Daddy doing? And she's like, you're leaving me notes so that when you go to heaven, I can still learn from you.
Wow.
Okay. So some of the lessons that I leave her is I say, Bella, Daddy will be more proud of you if you gift 100 pairs of shoes versus owning 100 pairs of shoes. There's no need for you to have 100 purses, right? And she's starting to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, we went to go to a friend's house, and you know they have a 30,000 square foot mansion. And I said, Bella, you know, how do you feel about this house? You know, should we buy a house like this? And she was like, oh no, Daddy. And I'm like, why? She's like, it's too much maintenance, too much in repairs. She's like, imagine if you're in the car and you forget your wallet. You got to go up to the 3rd floor to go get your wallet. She's like, I'd rather have a cozy home. Okay. So here's something else for the guys watching this. You have to know what you want and why do you want it? Do you really want a 30,000 square foot mansion with a staff of 5, with 10 empty bedrooms to impress people that don't give a shit about you?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to have a nice, cozy home? What do you want? Why do you want it? How is it going to help you in business and in life? And if you still think you want the mansion, go walk the mansion. I've walked those properties. It takes 45 minutes to walk them. Okay? Walk in and see what that feels like. Now imagine owning it. And now let's just say that you still do want the mansion. Perfect. Go for it.
Mhm.
But invest in the cash producing assets and let the cash producing assets pay for the mansion. And I promise you, after 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to say, like, you know what? The mansion was cool. Let me get myself a cozy home. Okay. But to each their own.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. It's awesome looking back at our journey together too, seeing how much I've changed. I've actually taken your advice from the first time we actually met, and my girlfriend actually got me this my calendar to write out throughout the week. What do I need to do? What are the 5 to 10 things I need to accomplish today only? And when you line it out, it does something different. Instead of, I still have my Google Calendar, it's digital, but writing it down is something that is so different. And also journaling, like you said, I journal every day too, and I write down, what am I grateful for? What are my future goals? What do I see myself doing? And then knowing what you want. What you said was with, like, do you want to have, a 30,000 square foot mansion, or do you want to have something that's cozy for you and your family? Before, looking back, I wanted all that. I wanted to have like 5 cars, 6 cars, whatever. But now I look at it, I'm like, I don't want that. What it is the time freedom I want. I want to be able to also give more to my family. I want to pay off my parents' homes. I don't want them to work anymore. And that's, at the end of the day too, it's like when I said earlier, aligned with the mentors that you want to be like, I think that's the biggest thing for us is, family at the end of the day is all that you have and all that's going to be left when we die. We can have all the money in the world, but you can't take it to heaven or hell, wherever you go, with you. I mean, it'd be nice if you could, but you can't. It's all about the kind of legacy you want to leave instead.
And that's the other topic of what's the new rich. Okay, so the new rich is what people really want is time freedom.
Mm-hmm.
They really want health and fitness. They want that passive income. They don't want to have to work all the time for their income. They want to have inner joy and peace of mind. And people are going to get more from having an experience with loved ones like you did with your parents and flying them in and spending time in Europe with them. That's going to be more valuable to you when you're 60 years of age and you reflect back and you're like, man, I remember that time when my parents came in and I flew them in. Yep. And I paid for the dinners. And it felt like this versus, I remember I had that. What was that, a Lamborghini? Right? I kind of remember having it. It's not the same. So again, to be clear, you're going to enjoy the life experiences more with the people that you love than the shiny trophy.
Yep. That's definitely true. Those life moments that you'll never get back.
You'll never get them back.
That's how I want to die, is remembering that I've made an impact on my family, close friends, and then, people leaving a legacy. And I think it's about possible to do that, though, unless you have a team, like you said earlier. You have a team that's helping you with your operations now, and you have the cash producing assets that are producing cash for you. Without a team and without those assets, I'd say it's difficult to do that, or else you'll just be hustling all the time.
No, it's not difficult. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to have the cash producing assets, that passive income, and you need to have the team. So for example, my maintenance company has been a huge game changer because I have my own maintenance company handling my portfolio. So before, I'd have to drive out to go meet with one plumber to get an estimate, stay there for 2 or 3 hours to get a second estimate, have them do the work, drive back to go see how the work came out, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So now with my own maintenance company, they just send me a video. They're like, here's what the problem is. Here's how we're going to fix it. And I'll say, great, get it done. Send me a video when you're done. I don't have to leave my home office. Yep. So here's something else why people are not happy. As you guys are going through life, the reason why most people are not happy, John, is because everybody has been brainwashed about a business plan, and making money, right? And now they're 60, 65 years of age and they can't retire and they're not truly happy. So what people need to do is first come up with a life plan. What kind of life do you want to live? What do you enjoy doing? What do you not want to do? So for example, I don't want to have to wear a suit and a tie every day. I don't want to be doing meetings at 8 a.m. every day. Mm-hmm. I don't want to drive in traffic. I live in California to downtown LA to park my car in a garage to go past security to take an elevator to the 30th floor. That's not what I want. Mm-hmm. So first comes a life plan And then you back it up with the business plan. And the same thing with the business. What do you want? On those 15 questions that we talked about on asking the mentor, okay, that I have on my Instagram, but those are also the 15 questions that you need to ask yourself. And not just the mentor, but ask yourself. Then I did another video like a day or two after that called self-evaluation. Then do the self-evaluation and see where you're at. So remember, life plan comes first, business plan comes second. Yes, know what you want, but also know what don't you want.
Yep.
What is it that you don't want?
I think for me, asking myself those questions, what do I not want in my life? And what do I not want to happen to me? Those have been the most motivating questions. And then, like you said, when we last talked, having your life plan, what do you want your life to look like? And then what do you want your business to look like? And I think for me, that was hard back when we were talking, because I was still doing Amazon and I was doing this and this. And my focus was all over the place. And now this year, I'm so happy to just be focused on one thing and just real estate, wholesaling real estate right now. That's what I'm doing. That's the main thing is right now. Yeah, I still do the content. I actually stopped posting for quite some time last year because it's hard. Like with social media, you got to post every day and doing it every day and then scheduling it. It's draining. And then always scrolling. Oh, what are the likes? How do I have to apply to this? I actually ended up hiring a VA, and she literally makes all my reels for me. So even after this podcast, after it's edited, she's scheduling all the posts out. She uses AI to have the descriptions tailored, and it's amazing the kind of era we're in where we can utilize stuff like that. And I think like having a team is essential to have that life plan work for you. With you, Hector, what were some of the challenges you found in the scaling process of your business? Because you said you also have an in-house construction team, and I'm sure it's not easy to build that from the ground up. But what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in scaling?
You know what, John? Number one, it's not a construction company. I don't have a construction. I have a maintenance company.
Maintenance company.
Yeah. So my maintenance company handles all my plumbing issues, electrical issues, my rent readies, painting, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have subcontractors. Okay. But some of the challenges I would say is being able to recruit good people. One of my mentors told me, Padilla, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Okay. So I learned that I had to start paying more to get higher caliber people. And when I started to do that, everything from our accountant to our controller, to our senior project manager, to our senior maintenance guy, everything has become easier because now they know more than I do. And that's what I want. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So when my main guy says, hey, we need to do this, and I just ask him, are you sure that's the best route? And he's like, yeah, that's the best route. Then I say, fine, go ahead, let's get it done. The same thing with my accountant. When I talk to him and I'm like, are you sure this is the way we want to go? Did you think this out well? And he says, yes. Okay, great. Let's go that route then. So you want to hire people that are more intelligent than you, that can advise you on what to do and what not to do. So finding good quality people and building your dream team, building your dream team so they can help you scale. And now you're not working like a chicken without a head.
Yep. I like that you said that you need to have a dream team in order to scale, or else you'll be working like a chicken without a head. That was, when we first started the wholesale business, it's been 6 months ago now. It's not too long. We were running around trying to figure out, is this business even legit? Is it going to work? Yeah. We had so many deals go to escrow, fall out of escrow, and I was going crazy. And I was like, I was really depressed. Like the amount of time and effort I put in talking to the leads and building the relationship only to have the deal fall apart. Yep. And I'm happy I just kept going and doing what I needed to do until we finally closed our first deal. And now we're about to close our second and third deal. And I'm like, wow, this actually works. So the process is actually there, but it's not easy. And I wanted to ask you, Hector, for anyone that's actually looking to get started in real estate, where would you advise them to start? Because there's so many different avenues in real estate. And if someone doesn't have a lot of money, can they even do what you're doing with commercial properties?
Yeah, no, they definitely can. And so let me take it a step back. When you asked me earlier about why did I make the pivot, right? Let me give you an example of the difference in income, okay? And I'm going to bring out my handy dandy calculator. All right, on one property that I own right across the street from the Rams Stadium, okay, by Sophie Stadium, that's a $5 billion development. All I did on for one transaction on the value add play is I charged $100 per parking. There's 14 parking spots. So 14 times 100, right? That increased the income by 1,400. Is that right? Let me see. 100 times 14 spots. Yeah, 1,400 a month. Multiply that by 12 months in a year using, let's call it a 14 gross rent multiplier. That increased the value by about $235,000.
Wow.
Right? Okay. Now, when I bought that property, I bought it for 1.6 million. But I brought in a funding, I brought in my whale investor. I did it on my own. It wasn't a joint venture. I brought in a funding partner that put in most of the money. So now people may say, well, 1.6, yeah, 1.6, but I probably came in with about 300,000 down, if that. I got offered $5 million for that asset.
Wow.
Selling it, and I bought it for 1.6. You can't do that on an assignment of contract. For the most part, you can't do that on a flip. I've already refinanced it and I already pulled money out, and that asset cash flows. I'll give you another example. The building, my commercial building where you came to visit me, I learned a valuable lesson from another mentor. And he said, Hector, if you take a vase and you put it in a garage sale in South Central, it's a $5 vase. You put that same vase in an estate sale in Beverly Hills, and now it's a $5,000 vase. Right? Okay. So here's how we applied it in business. So in that property right there that where you visited me, we have 2 3-car garages with high ceilings. If I would have rented those out just as a garage, I would have been making $300. But I remember the lesson: base versus vase.
I like that.
And I polished the cement floors. I put in insulation. I drywalled it. I put in electrical. I put in an AC system, and I called it flex space. And by making it flex space, I'm getting over $3,000 a month in rent.
Wow.
Now $3,000 a month in rent. For the year, that's $36,000, which means my operating income goes up. Using a 5 cap for valuation, the property went up by $720,000.
Wow.
Okay.
It's very creative.
How hard does somebody have to work to make $720,000? And that was on that little thing from a vase, it being a garage, to making it a vase and making it flex workspace, right?
Yeah.
And do that. Another thing on, just to give you another example, on another property, just adding an ADU. We're adding an ADU, and just by adding that ADU, I'm going to rent out that unit for about $3,400 per month. So now that property, just by doing that, the value will go up by about $500,000.
Wow.
Okay. The same thing. You can't do that on a flip.
Mm-mm.
And this is tax-free money when I do a refi cash out. And then when that asset is stabilized and I sell it on a 1031 exchange, it's again tax-free money. And that's the big loophole when you're investing as a true investor, is the refi cash out tax-free, selling on a 1031 exchange tax-free, and then rinse and repeat.
Yep. And you talked a little bit about JVs and joint ventures, and especially in your line of business and in wholesale, for us, we have the deal. We can't find a buyer because we're, especially if we're in an area we're not even familiar with, like we're in Oklahoma City. I don't live in Oklahoma City. We don't know the lay of the land. So when we JV, we find people that know the lay of the land. How does it work in your business, and what makes a successful JV in your view?
So perception becomes reality. So how do people perceive you is what I tell my mentees. Do they perceive you as a realtor? Because if they just perceive you as a realtor, they're not going to want to do a JV with you, because they're going to say, no, your job as a realtor is to bring in the deal. You get the commission. But when you position yourself and you have different posturing and you say, my name is John, I'm the president of 123 Investments. We are a real estate acquisition and investment firm. And we have this joint venture opportunity for you. You're going to put in X amount of money. We're going to reposition the asset, or we're going to do a value add. Once we're done with that, this is what the asset's going to be worth. You're going to put in this much. We're going to refi cash out. You're going to get this much back. And then we're going to hold the asset. We're going to cash flow this much. Then we're going to sell that on a 1031 exchange, and we're going to make about this much. So when that investor sees those numbers, they're like, you know what? This isn't bad. I'd rather do this joint venture. I don't have to do any work.
Mm-hmm.
This guy that runs the real estate acquisition and investment firm, they're going to handle all the details, and I'm still going to make a strong return. So you are going to have medical doctors, dentists, psychologists, psychiatrists, other entrepreneurs. They don't have the time to go out there and source the deal. They don't know how to source the deal. They don't know project management. They don't know how to handle maintenance. They don't know property management. They don't know how to lease out the properties. So when you come out and you're basically giving them a little box with all the solutions in it, so they don't have to do anything. I used to tell when I used to do more joint ventures, I would tell them the hardest thing you got to do is go to your mailbox and get your monthly check. And now they don't even have to, because now we just make a direct deposit.
Well, yeah,
right?
Technology.
Yeah, there you go, technology. But again, John, it goes back to your positioning and your posturing. How do people perceive you? And you want to be perceived as the CEO of a real estate acquisition and investment firm. Not, I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker.
Yeah.
And can you partner with me? Because you come from a different position. You come like you're desperate, right? But when you're coming to them with an opportunity and you're going to handle everything, that's different. So yes, people can learn this business. They got to learn how to do the joint ventures. They have to learn how to raise private capital, but they can get right into doing the multi-million-dollar deals if they have capacity and if they have a burning desire to work and a burning desire to learn. They can definitely do it.
It sounds like a lot to take in, and for me, I'm looking forward into the future when I move back, like I said, to be under your mentorship and to learn specifically how to turn real estate into a cash producing asset. Because right now, wholesale is just to generate income. It's an active income strategy right now. But for me, when I move back, I want to get into that strategy to find the deal. How do you find the deal? How do you fund the deal? How do you do all those techniques and strategies that you are sharing with us? And I know other people want to learn that too. If people actually want to learn from you, where can they actually contact you to learn from you if you're taking any students?
So we do one what we call a three-day maximize training, and that's where they get the full blueprint. They come and sit with me for 3 days, and they get the exact blueprint on how I purchased my first $100 million in real estate. All the documents, the marketing, the advertising, the purchase agreements. I mean, it's the whole 9 yards, right? If someone else wants to come and hit the trenches with me, then they come in, they fly in, we hit the trenches in the beast, and we go tour $30 to $50 million in real estate. And as they say, they pick my $100 million brain, and then we have a power lunch. So those are the two main things. To find me, the best way is on Instagram, the real Hector Padilla on Instagram. They can send me a DM, and I try to get back to everybody. And that's really the best way that they can get a hold of me.
Okay. How long would you say it truly takes for your students or mentees to see some form of success? Like for me with the wholesale business, it took quite some time to even get our first deal found and then closing escrow. Within your line of work in real estate, what do you see in a student? Like how long does it take them to actually succeed in this business?
Okay, so here's the thing. In real estate, there's basically two ways to make money, okay? You got to do quantity. You got to do a lot of assignment of contracts, a lot of flipping, a lot of listings. Or you do quality. You cherry pick deals where you net more money. So what I teach my students is to get one done every 4 months. If you can get one cherry deal done every 4 months, you're going to be doing very well, right? If you're prospecting full-time and you have a VA or you have an acquisitions agent in your office, and all you guys are doing is prospecting using the right fishing lines and a fishing net, How can you not find one person that says, yes, John, I need your help?
Mhm.
And KMS know my shit, right? And you're a persuasive communicator and you know how to connect. You should be able to close one deal every 4 months. But it's going to depend on the capacity of the mentee. One of my mentees is Sanjeev, and if you guys go on my Instagram, you'll see some of the interviews with some of my mentees. He already built over a $35 million portfolio. Another one of my mentees, Franco, he left being a listing agent and he took the class, and right away he made his pivot, and he's living very well. He's got his Harley and his Lamborghini, and he's traveling the world, and he started his portfolio, but he has capacity.
Mhm.
So it really depends. It's kind of like a trainer asked me, well, how much money, physical fitness trainer, he said, how much money are you going to make me? I'm like, I ain't going to make you shit. Okay. It's up to you. It's like if I say, hey, take me to the gym, and how much muscle are you going to pack on me? You can't do it. I got to put in the work. I got to work out. I got to watch my diet. He can train me, but I got to put in the work. I need to have the discipline, the focus, and the capacity. So if you have the discipline, the focus, the burning desire, and the capacity, you should be able to close one deal in 4 months.
I
And
like what
what
you
you
said
do, John, is going to put 2 deals in escrow.
there. Mhm.
Excuse me. And out of the 2 that you put in escrow, 1 will close.
Mhm. Knowing your numbers too. That's something I learned when I went to visit my friend in Vegas at Ryan Panetta's HQ, was knowing your numbers. What are your metrics? What are your KPIs? I actually have on my board here our numbers. Like, we have to calculate in order to hit our first goal. You have to hit at least 1,500 leads. And from the 1,500 leads, I don't know if you can see it's blurred out.
Yeah.
You'll only close 15 deals, so with a 1% ratio. And in order to do that, our callers have to be hitting 28,846 dials per week. And then from that, a certain amount of leads are generated. And then how many lead generators do we have? What's our overhead? And so that's why I like the wholesaling business right now, because it's a good income business. But I'm excited to do what you're doing and learn how to actually truly position myself to build long-term wealth in real estate. Is it a lot to get started in that business? You need a lot of capital to deploy in real estate with your apartment complexes and buying properties to hold?
No, you don't. But you need to learn how to raise money through a business loan. That's when people are going to lend your company money. That's a business loan. Number 2, raise money through trust deed investments. Number 3, doing joint ventures, where you bring in the deal and the funding partner puts in all the money. Then you need to know how to structure deals, right? So for example, one of the ways that I've done it, where I didn't put any money into it, is I would have the seller leave the first loan in place, and then I would have a soft money lender or a private investor put in the down payment. And that was 100% financing. So I put no money into the deal.
Wow.
Or I would have the seller leave the first in place, and then I would have a hard money lender do a second, and then that's how the seller got paid off, right? And I had no money in the deal. Or you have the seller do 100% financing, and you explain to them the benefits of them doing it. People would always tell me, especially when the market was hot, oh, you can't do seller financing. I've been doing seller financing for 24 years. And the reason why I've been able to do it is because I'm able to explain the benefits to the seller. So when I first bring it up, for the most part, they say no. But once I explain the benefits, then they think about it, and then they say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So again, you need to know how to structure the deal, how to do joint ventures, how to raise money through a business loan, and how to raise money through a trust deed investment. And that's how you can get into multi-million-dollar properties without putting all your money into it.
Amazing. With your business, like, how do you guys even find deals? Like, for us, our marketing strategy is cold calling. So we pull lists from different areas, get the code violation list from the county, skip trace it, and then we have our team call it. And then when someone expresses interest, that's when the acquisition manager gets on the phone, locks it up, and then we dispo it. Does it work similar in your line of business? Because I know it's a lot bigger properties than actually buying it. How do you guys even find deals?
Yeah, it is similar. So here's the thing. When I was making my pivot, I asked one of my mentors, how do I make the pivot? And he was an older gentleman. And he said, Hector, if you plant tomatoes, don't expect to get potatoes. And if you plant potatoes, don't expect to get tomatoes. Have a good day. and he hung up on me. And I'm like, holy shit, what was that all about? Right? Like, what does that even mean?
How to decipher this? What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what? But here's what he was saying. If you're dialing for dollars and looking for a listing, you're going to get a listing. If you're doing an open house, you're going to find a buyer. If you're doing what you're doing, you're going to find a house to assign. If I'm dialing for dollars to people that own multi-million-dollar properties, then what am I going to find? People that own the multi-million-dollar properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's another book, and this book has time-proven wisdom. You may know the book, John.
Write it down.
And it says, seek and you shall find. Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall open. Those are also life and business fundamentals. So when you have to know what you're looking for. I'm looking for, my sellers are normally 70, 80, even 90 years of age. So know who is your ideal client. That's my ideal client. They're the ones that own the multi-million-dollar properties, right? Not the 20-year-olds, not the 30-year-olds. And these clients, these prospects, they don't want the Lamborghini. They don't want the mansion. They want to get rid of the headache.
Yep.
So when you come in as a superhero to get rid of the headache, and you come in with the solution, and you know KMS, and you're able to be a persuasive communicator, and you're able to connect with them, then you get the multi-million-dollar deal, and then they'll do seller financing with you.
I'm really excited to learn how to do this with you, Hector, because in our business, we look for those leads, and when we get a lead, they're usually, like you said, they're elderly, they're really old, and they don't want the property anymore. They don't want the headache. They can't make the payments, and we come in as the hero. We offer the solution, the cash offer, and then we just align it with a cash buyer who actually can buy it. Eventually, we want to buy some of these properties and turn it into rentals. But I'm excited. Like a lot of the things you're saying, I know I can do. I'm sure there's other people that can do it as well, and it's achievable if you put your mind to it, and you have a good vetted mentor too, that knows their shit. That's the big So thank you, Hector. I know we're approaching the end of our podcast. We have a little bit more time, but what do you see for the future of HB Capital Investments? Like, what do you see for your guys' future, and how do you plan to achieve that?
So, John, I'll take this one last question, then I got to run too. But here's the thing: I am in my ideal position. I have built my dream business. I am living my dream lifestyle. Okay. I don't have to go chase deals anymore. I don't have that stress on chasing deals anymore. Now I'm just picking the low-hanging fruit. I am cherry picking my deals. And now that I built the business, I'm not doing dialing for dollars anymore. I did it before. Mm-hmm. Now people are bringing me the deals. Hey, I got this deal, but I'm just sitting back and waiting for the cherry deals. And I don't have to buy, and I don't have to sell. And that's the ideal position that people should put themselves in. John, if I do nothing more, okay, if I sit right here on my happy ass, my real estate portfolio is going to double in 7 to 10 years. My rental income is going to double in 7 to 10 years. I have one daughter. She's going to inherit way more than what she needs. And this is what I tell my mentees. This is what I want for you guys. Build your real estate acquisition and investment firm. Have your own in-house property management and have your own in-house maintenance company. And now you're running a true business. You're not being a technician anymore. You're not being that flipper anymore. You're not being the guy that's assigning contracts. Now you became the savvy and sophisticated real estate investor.
Thank you so much, Hector, for sharing all that knowledge with us. It's really been an honor too. And like learning every time we talk, I just absorb as much as I can and execute as soon as I can too. For those of us that are watching and people that actually want to take your mentorship, where can they join and sign up?
Here's the last thing I want to say, John, before I forget. Don't forget the exponential power of one. In this business, the exponential power of one can make you a mega millionaire. The exponential power of having one vetted mentor. The exponential power of finding one whale investor that funds your deals. the exponential power of one power play. I bought one power play for $75,000 with none of my money. I sold it for $1,375,000 in 13 months.
Wow.
Those are power plays, right? The one that we talked about earlier, I bought it for 1.6 with private money, and it's worth now $5 million. That's a power play. That's the exponential power of one. And when people say, how do I get started? Just get started. But first, invest in your training. Invest in your training just like you did, and then go out and do it. If you don't know how to swim, you're not going to go out into the ocean and jump into the ocean, right? You're going to get some coaching. You may read a book on how to swim, but you're still not going to jump out there. You're going to start off in a swimming pool. And then from there, you're going to start to work your way up. So invest in your training, invest in your education, invest in your self-development, then go out there and do it. All right, if people want to get in touch with me, you guys can send me all your questions. Again, on Instagram is the best method, The Real Hector Padilla. You can go on my site, hectorpadilla.com. John, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you. I'll see you in a couple of months. We'll go out there in the range and blow some shit up.
Yes, sir.
And we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hector, for joining us. See you. Take care.